with that down, let's move on to our fourth and final main topic of the day. And our fourth and final main topic of the day gets submitted to us by our friend Edgar Wainwright, who writes, "Hey, John and Rob. Blumhouse has been killing it lately. They absolutely have, especially with Invisible Man. I love that movie. I just read that John Carpenter is going to be teaming up with them to make another The Thing movie. I know some people get upset with the idea of remakes, but with Blumhouse and Carpenter involved, I think it could be great. What are your thoughts?" All right, thanks a lot for sending that in, man. And yeah, first of all, you're right. Blumhouse has been killing it. Not only have they been killing it with great movies, it's how they're making movies. They're changing the game. Because Jason Blum, he gets this idea for a movie. Okay, cool. And then he pulls out all of his winter coats and starts digging through the pockets to find extra quarters and maybe a $20 bill and whatever. He says, okay, here's the budget for the movie. And they make this movie for like $18 and they make $5 million. You know, it's really crazy what he's been able to do. And sometimes it's not just good movies for cheap budgets. It's just great movies. That Invisible Man that we got to see just before the pandemic hit was such a treat. And I think, what was the budget on that? $6 million? $7 million?
Yeah, something like that. I think
$6 or $7 million. It was crazy what they were able to do. And of course, he just did the Halloween movie, which I thought was probably the best Halloween movie ever made, but I know I'm in the minority on that. But anyway, what happened recently was John Carpenter was just being asked, he was at a festival and being interviewed at a festival. And they said, hey, you know, you're doing this thing with them for Halloween. Any chances you could direct something for Blumhouse? This is what he said. This is what John Carpenter said. I don't know about that, Carpenter said, but we've talked about, I think he's going to be working on The Thing, rebooting The Thing. And I'm involved with that, maybe, down the road. So John Carpenter comes out and says, and he drops us a little bit of a bomb saying, yeah, I'm going to be plugged into The Thing. The idea of doing things. Now, of course, I think it was 2011, Rob, 2011, 2012. They did another The Thing movie with Elizabeth Weinstead, who I love. And it turned out, as you got into the movie, you realize it's actually a prequel to the original Thing. It actually ends with where The Thing begins, which was kind of an interesting little twist near the end. The movie wasn't great, though. It wasn't great by any stretch of the imagination. But still, here we are. Now, there are going to be the regular, like clockwork, throngs of, why remake anything? There's going to be the regular ones of those. But particularly, you know, there's a lot of love for John Carpenter's The Thing and don't want things remade. Although they quickly forget, Rob, that John Carpenter's The Thing was also in itself a remake. It in and of itself was a remake and a reboot, but be that as it may. I got to wonder, though, Rob, how many people will have a better disposition towards something like this, knowing that it's, number one, Blumhouse, and number two, if Carpenter himself is actually involved. Now, what Carpenter just said is pretty much the extent of the information we have. We don't know if, when he says remake, is it truly a remake? Is it a sequel? Is it a, told at a different half of the planet while the events of the first Thing are going on? Is it another? I mean, who knows? And John Carpenter, by the way, didn't really explicitly lay out what his role would be, if any, in it. But, Rob, knowing that Blumhouse is looking at The Thing and that Carpenter is probably going to be involved in some way, shape, or form, what's your thoughts on this?
Well, look, I love John Carpenter's The Thing. I think it's one of his best films. I think it's one of the great sci-fi remakes of all time. I mean, my triptych of great sci-fi remakes is Invasion of the Body Snatchers, The Thing, and The Fly. I think if they're going to do it, they have to do something new and different. The same way their Invisible Man version was a reinvention of that mythology. Now, what I would be interested in, I don't want to see a bunch of dudes and girls trapped in the Antarctic again. Who cares? What would really be interesting is what happens if The Thing gets to the mainland. Like, what would happen?
Kind of like Jurassic Park.
Yeah, like you've got somebody goes back there and they find, I don't know, MacReady's frozen body along with child's frozen body, and somehow the thing gets into, it starts to spread in our world. What would that look like? And I think that would be, I mean, one of the things that there's a really interesting element of the thing that they never dealt with. I mean, it's in the movie. The Thing is building its own spaceship in John Carpenter's movie. You find it in Wilford Brimley's cabin. And so that means the Thing is intelligent. Like it can get around. And what if that kind of intelligence coupled with what the Thing is doing gets into a populated area? What could that mean? I mean, you could tell John Carpenter calls the Thing the first of his Apocalypse trilogy. You could really get further into that idea. I'd love to see that. I would love. I just don't know how you do it on an $8 million Blumhouse budget, but I certainly would like to see that, and I would really like to see physical effects again and all of those things. So I'm interested. I was not a fan of their new Halloween at all.
Really? I thought it was the best Halloween movie ever.
Oh, I looked. I have a long-standing relationship with the very first Halloween. I just was not a fan of. I understood what they were going for. It was just the way it was done. I think I liked the story, but I didn't like the way it was. Yeah, but
it's the first Halloween movie I actually liked, so I'm surprised to hear you say that.
The first Halloween meant so much to me when I was younger, but I don't know, man. It's got to be good because the Thing is so classic. And we see it's not easy to make a movie like that.
No, it's not. And you got to have the right hands doing it. And we'll see. Question here is for you guys. What do you think about this? Do you think, hey, listen, so many people today haven't even seen the Thing. It's been forever. It could really benefit from updated technology, a new fresh take on the story. Or you're like, hey, you know what? It's just classic. Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Where are you on that right now? Especially when you consider about the players involved, if Carpenter himself is going to be involved. Does that change your mind at all? Jump down into the comment section below and let us know your thoughts. All right, guys.